Hey folks, how's it going? How's it going? Happy Wednesday. First and foremost, I want to apologize for postponing this from yesterday. Life got in the way, but I'm happy to be here. Good evening to those of you who are checking this out on YouTube, X, and Facebook. Thank you very much for being here. And, if you are seeing the title of this stream, uh, tonight I'm going to be discussing what I think is important for the future of the Libertarian Party. I look forward to seeing some input as we go through this. If we can kind of get through the beginning here, we'll do kind of a question and answer portion towards the end. But please feel free to share this. Let other people know that the stream is going on. Share it out there. Please, please do that. I see hello from Wisconsin. Hello to you. Hello to wherever you're coming from. And I think it's important to really discuss as the year is ending, kind of what I believe is the future of the Libertarian Party. Speaking of which, there will be a end of the year live stream that'll be on the 29th. So that way we're not getting in, we're not doing any New Year's Eve stuff or anything, but I will be doing one Sunday, the 29th. And someone says, well, Mike Tremont be your running mate if you run again? Well, that's for delegates to decide. They vote for the president and vice president separately. But Mike Tremont will be joining me on the 29th to discuss, the campaign, a year in review, to talk about stories on the road, and really to kind of cap out this campaign year with some great stories. So I'm looking forward to see what's up. And I know Justin Amash was in another space. I was listening to that actually a little bit. Maybe 5 or 6 minutes right before I jumped on here. I saw that he was on. I would love to talk to him in person about libertarian policy, about what we can do to reduce government, what we can do to change the political system to have more representation, and of course, Star Trek. I would love to talk to him about that. But so if you haven't seen, there is a story in the Washington Post today that is about the Libertarian Party. I was asked to comment on it before it came out. So I figured I would go ahead and bring up that story, talk a little bit about it. I'm going to be reading from my phone. I apologize if my eye is away from the center of the camera as I read this, but I figure it's important to kind of read through and, entirely. And the name of the article is, "Will Trump Have a Libertarian in His Cabinet?" And that was done by Peter Svivtek, Leanne Caldwell, and Merrill Cornfield, with research by Alex Dent. I just want to give credit to those who wrote this because I think it's important to give that. In today's edition, here we go. When Donald Trump courted libertarians in his latest presidential campaign, he bluntly asked for the party's backing and promised to appoint a libertarian to his cabinet if elected. "That's pretty big," Trump said after making the promise during a speech in May at the Libertarian Party's national convention. But months later, Trump is the president-elect, and that promise remains a source of debate. His transition has not publicly identified a libertarian cabinet pick and did not respond to a request for comment. The party's chair, Angela McArdle, has suggested that Trump fulfilled the promise by picking Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be the Health and Human Services Secretary. But the party's 2024 presidential nominee, Chase Oliver, hey, that's me, a Trump critic, says the president-elect has not followed through. Quote, "I'm not seeing a libertarian in the cabinet or in senior posts so far, and we've now had weeks since the election for him to fulfill that promise," Oliver told us in an interview, adding that it was weaseling out to suggest that Kennedy, the Democrat-turned-independent candidate who eventually dropped out and endorsed Trump, received his nod because of any libertarian affiliation. Trump himself argued that Kennedy was not a libertarian back when there were rivals vying for the party's backing. The controversy looms over the future of the Libertarian Party and its efforts to become more politically viable, as it sought to do by having a major party candidate speak at its convention. And for Trump, it shows how his campaign's effort to broaden the GOP tent in a close race were not without risk. Trump's courtship of the Libertarians was awkward out of the gate. He was loudly booed as he addressed the convention by alternately appealing to the party for its support and ridiculing its performance in the elections. "I think you should nominate me or at least vote for me, and we should win together," Trump said, moments later adding that he was committing to you tonight that I will put a libertarian in my cabinet and also libertarians in senior posts. Amid cheers and boos, Trump added, "Or you can keep going the way you have for the last long decades to get your 3% and then meet again and get another 3%. Trump also promised he would pardon Ross Ulbricht, the mastermind behind the online market Silk Road, who was sentenced to life in prison in 2015. Trump ended up only getting a handful of votes as a write-in candidate for the party's presidential nomination. He later said that he did not formally contend for the nod because he was not allowed to have the nomination of another party as the GOP nominee. The Libertarian Party, the third largest political party in the country, has undergone a power struggle in recent years. As a right-wing faction, the Mises Caucus took control and faced internal dissent. The party has lost members and is fighting lawsuits on several fronts, draining its coffers. It was narrowly divided in the presidential ticket, narrowly giving Oliver, who comes from a left-leaning faction, not sure really where they get that, the nomination after 7 rounds of voting at the contentious convention. If you look at me on side note, if you look at me on the kind of political compass, I'm very much lower quadrant right of center, not super far to the right, but definitely right of center whenever I do those tests. Mike Tremont, Oliver's vice presidential candidate, says he spoke with people in the party who believed Trump would not nominate a libertarian to his cabinet unless the party gave him the nomination. Tremont said he didn't have an impression one way or the other, but he said the cabinet picks announced so far are appealing to libertarians because they are not part of the establishment. I will agree to disagree with Mike Tremont on that. I think there are plenty of establishment picks that are very unexciting. There's a couple, I think, that maybe on the fringes libertarians might like, but on the whole, not great. Let's see. That's pretty much there. McCardle, who's from the Mises Caucus, cited the cabinet promise when she personally endorsed Oliver after the convention, calling him the best way to beat Joe Biden and to take votes from Biden and to elect Trump. Donald Trump is going to put a libertarian in a cabinet position. She reminded her social media followers at the time. McCardle has since pointed to Kennedy as that potential cabinet member, noting that he is a member of the party, raised money with the party when he was an independent candidate, and spoke at the national convention. In response to party members casting down on Kennedy's libertarian credentials on social media, she suggested they are being too narrow in their definition. McCardle did not respond to messages seeking comment, but in an X post Tuesday evening, she cited Kennedy again, added, quote, "The transition team is still fulfilling positions and several libertarians have been interviewed and I have done their reference calls. Still going," end quote. Let's see. There's a quote by Larry Sharp saying that Trump's been open to libertarians. Larry Sharp is a libertarian political consultant who worked for a super PAC supporting Kennedy. The issue is there aren't many of us, to be very forward with you, who are actually libertarians. Amid the uproar, Oliver says he feels somewhat vindicated after expressing disagreement with the party's decision to give Trump a speaking slot. He has a message for libertarians who feel let down after taking a gamble on Trump this time. You're welcome to come back to the Libertarian Party and recognize that the two-party system makes false promises to get elected. And I, that's pretty much the total of the. I didn't read the entire piece, but that's pretty much, you get the flavor of what's going on there. And so that is that piece. Why did I want to bring that up? Because I do want to talk about the future of our party, and I think it was important. There were a few things that did not really get spoken about that I spoke to them. Of course, there's a limited amount of page space on these interviews, but I was happy to speak to them. And one of those things is I'm looking forward to growing the party in the future. And I think that we are at a point where we need to really be honest with ourselves that we need to get in growth mode or we're going to be in death mode. And that is the seriousness to which I am bringing to this conversation. I'm a lifetime member of the Libertarian Party. What is my future with the Libertarian Party? It's going to continue. I'm a lifetime member. And when I say I'm a lifetime member, it's not just because I put money into it, though you do have to donate a certain amount of money to become a lifetime member. But I'm a lifetime member because I'm devoted to working within the party to try to find people who want to actually grow the party. And I want to be frank with this. This is not about division. It's not. If you think I'm going to be coming into this to be divisive, however you want to say it, that's just not true. What my goal is to see true party unity going forward. And party unity is not about groupthink. It's not about everybody thinks exactly the same. If it did, libertarians would all be a party of one because it's very hard to get all of us to agree on anything. And it's the same with the Democrats and Republicans. There's a spectrum in each of those parties. There's a tent in each of those parties. And I would argue that the Libertarian Party could be the biggest tent of them all because, broadly speaking, we're anti-authority. It's not about left versus right. It's about authority versus liberty. And if we use that, we can really grow the overall tent of the party, right? And so unity is not groupthink. It's about coming together under the libertarian tent. And I think there are 5 things that I'm looking forward to seeing, and 5 things I'm going to look for in leadership going forward. That when I decide who I want to support, who I think is worthy of putting energy behind, and even in my home state where I'm a delegate, I'm a member of my state's party, what I'm going to be doing in my state, but what I encourage other people to be doing in other states and identifying folks who really want to put the party in the right direction, right? And so those 5 things are first and foremost, I want to see professionalism. I want to see a party that acts within the, with a professional mindset, with a mindset that it's not about infighting. It's not about calling each other names. It's not about creating division so that you can be the king of the mound. Like, it's not about that. And in fact, we are big believers in the power of the free market and free association. And we talk all about how business is many times more efficient than government. And we need to be running our party like a business, one that has a focus, a singular focus that is towards growth and towards expanding our political power and our reach, and not about dividing ourselves. Because see, that's not free market. That's not acting like a business. That's acting like politics. That's acting like government. That's what government does. Government seeks to divide each other. Government seeks to just get ahead and be the king of the mountain. That's what the duopoly does. That's not what we should be doing. We should be focusing on building ourselves like a business, using professionalism as a cornerstone to what we do. Paired with that is the second thing that I want to see in future leaders in this party: ethics, a focus on ethics, a focus on open transparency, which is something I don't think we've gotten a lot of. And I actually should have started right here with this. As a candidate, I did not speak a lot about inter-party stuff, right? It's not my job as a candidate to speak about inter-party stuff. My job as a candidate is to export our message outward, to bring new people in, to be as attractive as I can to the average voter, whether they're a libertarian or not, so they can at least give us a look and give us a vote and maybe get involved and grow the base and bring new people in. That's what the role of a candidate is to serve their community, to be open and honest about what they want to do, to be transparent as a candidate, to be forthright with their principles, to spread the message of liberty, and to ultimately win. That's what we want to see, right? And so that's the role of a candidate. I'm no longer a candidate. I'm now a lifetime member of the party who is very concerned about the direction of the party. And that's why I'm talking about this stuff. That's why people tried to goad me into getting into a lot of inter-party fights during the campaign. And I absolutely refused to do that because I had to focus on other things, namely running for president, supporting the ticket, and doing what I could to spread the message of liberty in a very, very difficult election season, very unique election season. And, if I ever want to be a candidate again, that will be my focus. If I'm a candidate, it's not going to be focusing on the inter-party stuff, but be focusing on the outer party stuff. That's the role that you have as a candidate. And sometimes you have to do both, right? Now, running for president, it's very hard to do both. And to try to devote yourself to doing both at the same time when you're running a national campaign can be quite impossible. So I just didn't. But now I'm a lifetime member of the party, and I'm a concerned member of the party. And so I am going to focus on these things. So back to this. So professionalism being number 1, ethics being number 2. And when I say ethics, I do mean declaring conflicts of interest before a vote happens. It does mean to not be taking hundreds of thousands of dollars into your own personal PAC and lining your pockets with fundraising dollars. That's not ethical behavior. And I think we need a change of leadership, particularly at the national level, for not just the chair, but many members of the LNC who have complicitly stood by and allowed this behavior to happen. And so I'm going to be focusing myself on finding people. Again, ain't about caucus. It ain't about what kind of, what corner of libertarianism you come from. It's how are you going to conduct yourself in the party? And really, I don't care where you come from. As long as you're going to be doing these things, that's what I'm focused on. So professionalism, ethics. 3, a focus on candidates up and down the ballot. I think that needs to be something that's really focused on is candidates. I think we've gotten into the weeds a little bit with kind of almost making our party a JV team for the Republican Party and trying to say, well, we'll just be party messengers and policy messengers and try to shift the Overton window that way. But the truth is that if you become the JV league for either the Democrats or Republicans, people are just going to cut out the middleman and they'll just support the Democrats, the Republicans. That's not a recipe for growth within the Libertarian Party, and it's certainly not a way to properly support our candidates. We need to focus on identifying our candidates up and down the ballot and supporting them. We had 400 candidates running across the country in 2024, and I supported many of them. I door knocked with some of them. I did events with many of them. I helped fundraise for many of them. And you know what? I want to see a national party that can properly support not just 400 candidates, which I think we did not properly support this time around. I think we failed as a party in many aspects of supporting our candidates up and down the ballot. And I'm not just talking about the presidential campaign. I'm talking about campaigns up and down the ballot who reached out to national and did not get the support they needed. And that's not for the effort of some. There are some volunteers in the party that really did want to put a focus on candidates, but that starts at the top. That starts with leadership, and it starts with the ability to have the resources to do that support work. You can have all the will in the world to want to support candidates, but if you're not properly exercising the next part that I'm about to talk about, you're not going to have the resources to actually affect change in those races. And so one of that is number 4, proper stewardship of donors and volunteers. What we need to see is an actual plan about how we're going to curate donors, particularly not only large donors, though we do need to focus on those who can give a great amount of money to the party. And we need to focus on what it takes to actually properly steward those donors and that development. We need to do that with small donors too. We haven't had LP news. We don't even have money right now for membership cards. So we have to get ourselves in a place to where we can properly support the party and its candidates and get in a way to have proper stewardship of our donors and volunteers. We need to be able to know where to send volunteers, where the areas of need are. So next time there's an election cycle and we have ballot access needs, the national party can activate volunteers maybe in the region and send them to that one area to get it done. Or when we need to see an op-ed campaign, or when we see legislation that's going through the Congress that needs to be opposed, we need to be able to activate our volunteers, our phone bankers, our text bankers, our letter writers, those people who want to actually be active within the party. And if we're not able to do that in combination with properly focusing on gaining resources through development and donor stewardship, we're never going to grow. Membership cards as in physical. Yes, Rich, I see your question there. Yes, as in physical in 2025. Yes, it's important for people to feel like they have skin in the game. And maybe not membership cards, but a newsletter, even an email newsletter, something that keeps people attracted to the party and in touch with the party. That's what we need to be seeing. And then 5, we need to see action goals and follow through, and not things that are supporting things outside of the party scope. We don't need party officers spending their time when they should be focusing on building our party, on building their own rallies, their own money, their own PACs, their own side projects. Being a part of the LNC is a commitment. And let me tell you right now, so is being a candidate. And I know candidates all across the country who put lots of time and money into their campaigns, and they did not enrich themselves. But there are those in party leadership who have taken the time and effort to do just that, instead of supporting those candidates who are the lifeblood of this party. And that's wrong. And I know candidates who have personally taken thousands of dollars out of their pocket. When I tell you that I have lived on a very, very strict budget over the 2 years that I've been running for president, when I've lived full time for this party and did not enrich myself. If anything, it's the contrary. I'm having to dig myself out because of the time I took. And I'm not complaining. That's a sacrifice I willingly took on. But if you're willingly taking on the sacrifice of being a member of the LNC, you need to put your other projects on hold, especially if they're in conflict of interest, being supported by other candidates and other parties and other political interests to the detriment of the Libertarian Party. And if you can't do that, you need to resign from the LNC and leave. And that's just point blank, because otherwise you leave yourself open to lawsuits and litigation and problems that the party really should not have to focus on. And so, so number 5 is finding action goals within the party and actually following through on those projects. Finding ways to use the Libertarian Party to grow the Libertarian Party and not to do outside projects. If you want to focus on that, please do. I'm not going to attack people who want to work outside of the party. If you want to start a PAC, if you want to start a nonprofit, if you want to start another project that is not focused on electing libertarian candidates and spreading libertarian policy through the electoral process, by all means do it. I support that. There are many great organizations that do wonderful work in that area, and I don't attack them at all. In fact, I look to them to find policy information and other information that can help me as a candidate. And I know other candidates look for that as well. And so that's a tool that can be used to also help the Libertarian Party. You just don't need to do it within the Libertarian Party because there's a lot of constraints, a lot of FEC requirements, a lot of other things that can get in the way of properly doing activism. And so I encourage activists, do that work, but don't do it within the party where there can be trouble, where there can be lawsuits, where there can be the government getting involved, and where there can be true conflicts of interest to what the real mission of the party is to spread libertarianism through the political process. Not just by electing candidates, but by running candidates who can put the good ideas out there that then later get adopted by maybe other political entities. But we need to do that. We need to be fully separate from the Democrats and Republicans. I'm not going to hate libertarians, by the way, who voted for Trump or Harris. I know you're out there. I know there's a lot of them out there. I'm aware. I got around 640,000 votes. It means there are plenty of people who have voted libertarian in the past who didn't this time for one reason or another. And let me tell you right now, if I cannot hate them as the candidate, you should be able to not hate them either. Recognize that many of these people did this because they thought they were doing the right thing. They thought they were taking a gamble. They thought that this was the right thing to do. Now, I would disagree with them, whether they supported Harris or supported Trump. I would argue neither of them are really going to bring about liberty in our lifetime. They're really not going to bring about solving the problems that are really being faced. In fact, I think really, again, I said this on the campaign trail, it doesn't matter who wins between Trump or Harris. America loses. And that's unfortunate because we need to have a better quality of a person in our legislatures, in our governor's mansions, and in the White House than we've been subjected to our entire lives. And this is no different. But for those who took the gamble and they voted for Trump, they voted for Harris, we need to be ready to welcome them back in when they realize how futile working within the two-party system is. And that even goes for people who have run for office as a Republican. Justin Amash ran in a Republican Senate primary last year. I would love to have seen him win it and get elected and put libertarian policy forward and be the most libertarian Republican that's ever been in the Senate. But recognizing, the challenges he was facing, he did not get close to winning that race. Why? Because libertarian values are not respected right now within the Republican electorate. Even now, as people will try to say, we got more clout than ever. That's what Larry Sharp said now. Larry Sharp, of course, is working for a Kennedy PAC. So he's kind of, he's inclined to want to say those things. I don't believe libertarians are going to be respected by this next Trump administration. I welcome to be wrong, right? I'm welcome to be wrong. If Trump brings about the most libertarian 4 years it's ever been, by all means, I'll say I was wrong. I don't have a problem saying that. But the truth is that that's been said before. It's been promised before by presidents in both parties that they're going to reduce government, they're going to create efficiency, they're going to balance the budget, they're going to do all this stuff. And they don't. And this is why I now operate outside the two-party system. Somebody also asked, why don't I operate within the two-party system and try to spread my ideas there? Because ultimately, in order for me to get ahead in the Democratic or Republican Party, I would have to sell out. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to sell out our principles for the sake of, having a seat at the table when I'm not going to have anything to effectively do at the table, right? It's not worth selling out your principles to get at the table if you have no political capital and nothing to do. And I think we've seen that with the promise of a cabinet position, and we don't have one. Robert Kennedy is not being selected to be in the cabinet because he is a lifetime member of the Libertarian Party, and he spoke at our convention, and he formed a joint fundraising committee with the National Party, which, by the way, I disagreed with. And the people who say that I didn't, or that Steve Dosbach or myself gave the sign off on that, are lying. We did not. And when people say that we were offered to do a joint fundraising committee, after they'd already done one with Kennedy, which would be highly dubious with the FEC. And I didn't want the party to have to get in legal trouble any more so than they already were by having a joint fundraising committee with a candidate who's not part of their party, who was not the candidate of their party, which I think if you read the statute can be very murky, right? So I didn't want to complicate that and make it even worse and draw any more attention to it. So that's why. Not that I think the party would have supported a JFC with us anyways. But, you know, we need to look at moving past being the JV for another party. And we need to recognize that Robert Kennedy is not in that cabinet because he's a member of the Libertarian Party, because he paid $1,500 and, is a lifetime member. He got that cabinet appointment because he was a candidate who had raised tens of millions of dollars and traveled across the country and was getting lots of notice and was, to be fair, getting the most attention of any independent candidate outside of the two-party system. Let's be real. His last name's Kennedy. He had a multimillionaire running mate. He was already raising tens of millions of dollars with a PAC. And so when he dropped out and endorsed Trump, that's what got him a cabinet position with Trump. And by the way, let's be real. He first tried to go hat in hand to Kamala Harris. He thought Kamala Harris was the better bet at first and went to her first. And when she rejected him, that's when he then went to Trump and tried to say, see, MAGA Maha, right? And the last thing I'll say is I don't need America to make me healthy again, by the way. I just got done doing a run today, working out on my rowing machine. I'm eating healthier now that I'm not on the road anymore. So, yeah, I don't need America to make me healthy. I'm making myself healthy. That's kind of how that is. Anyway, last thing we need to look at, again, don't hate libertarians who voted for Kamala Harris or who voted for Donald Trump. Don't do that. What you do need to do is find ways to reach non-voters. Non-voters are, I just saw a thing where they looked at the turnout of this year. It was 64% turnout in this election. That means over a third of voters who are eligible to vote didn't vote. And I would argue that many of those people don't vote for two reasons. One, they're either apathetic to the political process, in which case we need to offer them an alternative that can maybe excite them. Or B, maybe they just want to be left alone. Maybe they just don't want to be messed with by the government, in which case the Libertarian Party message should be very attractive to them. We need to find a way to reach out to those non-voters and try to bring them into the process, as well as bring in disaffected Republicans and Democrats, people who had voted for one or the other. But we really need to focus ourselves on reaching out to these apathetic non-voters and working across the party spectrum to change the way we vote, support things like the Voter Bill of Rights and other projects to actually give libertarians a better chance of being elected. If you haven't liked the party direction, okay, if you're somebody who has voted libertarian in the past or has been a Libertarian Party member in the past, and you don't like the direction the party has been in the last 2 years, in terms of donor stewardship, membership, connections with the state party, supportive candidates, the messaging that's been coming out, these kinds of things. Now is the time to join your state party. Now is the time to join the state party if you're not already a member, and get active. Join your state party, convince others to do the same. Join, go to your convention. Go to your convention and be an active face of your party. Support leadership who are focused on the party, not divisions, one way or the other, from one side or the other of any party division. Not focused on division, but are focused on unity and not being a JV team for the GOP or the Democrats. That's what we need to see. So stay active. Stay active in your state party after convention. Join a committee. Join onto a project or some sort of volunteer initiative. But get involved in your state party. You don't have to devote all your time to it. Maybe it's a few hours a week. Maybe it's a few hours a month. But support people who want to support that professionalism. And after you've done so at convention, be a part of that professionalism. Be a part of that growth. Be a part of that donor stewardship. Get involved. Make plans to attend the national convention. That is your next step. Once you've done the work within your party and you're staying active, go ahead and already start making plans to go to the Libertarian Party National Convention in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I encourage you to be there. So that's what I have to say about the direction of the party and what I'm going to be focused on. Me personally, I'm going to get back into working. and devoting myself to my state party and doing what I can to support people across the country when I can in order to make positive change. So there's my immediate plan and my immediate goals for what I want to see for the party going forward. I think those are some good things. Now I'm going to jump into some questions. I've gotten a lot through here, so I'm going to try to focus on some of these things. Whatever you say about Kent, or whatever you can say about Oliver, is not a sellout. Correct. I don't sell out. In fact, I'm somebody who buys in a lot into what I have to do politically. I certainly don't make myself rich off of doing this. I've run 3 campaigns. I'm still living that working class existence. So let's just say I'm not. I do love when people try to say I'm like some sort of like beltway libertarian, that I just go to cocktail parties. Dude, I ain't got the money for all that. I ain't got that kind of life. Let's see. Are there any LNC members who wholeheartedly supported Chase? Yeah, there were several who did. There were several who absolutely did. There were some who, did so, with gritted teeth, to be fair, but they did their duty. And there are those who I felt abandoned their fiduciary duty. But that's not for me to decide. That's for other people to decide. But that's just my opinion. Anyone can make themselves healthy. It's a personal choice. You're right. You don't have to wait for the government to make America healthy. You make yourself healthy. How about that? Make yourself healthy. We don't need the government to do that. People keep saying libertarians are just undercover Republicans. What do you say about that? I don't know many Republicans who want to completely end the drug war and legalize all drugs. I don't know many Republicans who really want to reduce the size and scope of the state to fully remove income tax from our lives. I don't know many Republicans who want to actively end the warfare state around the world and stop us from invading other countries and drone bombing the crap out of other people. So there are plenty of things that make us different from Republicans. Our party leadership needs to act as such. It is okay to work with any party if there's an initiative that aligns, but to fully sell out and say we're going to support one candidate or another because they're going to give us so-called concessions, which have not yet come, I think is a foolhardy proposition. I don't think that's the best way to do this. So that's just my personal opinion, but I think we need to definitely be fully separate, because we are fully separate from Republicans and Democrats. We're not the same thing. We're a different political entity. We need to act like it. Dark Spock, yes, this is my mirror universe self. That's why I have the beard. When I'm not running for office, I am my mirror universe self. It's just a Star Trek joke out there. I don't have a problem with who people voted for. I have a problem with those who lied about you as justification. I hope they all get tariffs for Christmas. Well, maybe not for Christmas, because January 20th is when Trump's taking office. Maybe by next Christmas, there's going to be a lot in place, unfortunately. And you're right. I don't mind people who voted for Harris or who voted for Trump. But if you lied about me and what I believe and what I think, to do that, especially if you distort things without context, as libertarians, you should recognize the media already does that to us. And so to do that to your own folks is kind of really backwards. And, it just shows that, some people are just not above doing the same thing that duopoly does in order to justify why they're voting for somebody instead of finding reasons to vote for somebody, right? Let's see. Most people I know who don't vote simply believe there's nothing they can do to change the system. It can be hard to tell them they have to try. You're right. It is sometimes hard to motivate people who feel completely not motivated to make any political change. And the first thing you can do is be the change yourself. Be active in your community. Be active in your local politics. Attend city council meetings. Attend those things and be aware of what's going on in your neighborhood. And also make changes in your community. One of the things that I think is the most important is if you can get out there and be an example to other people. Libertarian Party of Atlanta adopted a park, and one of the reasons why we clean a park is because we show people we don't need the government to do those kinds of things. We can do it ourselves. We're being an example to the neighborhood. And so I would think that one of the ways we can activate these non-voters is to show them that we are willing to put in the work if they're willing to put in the work. But we have to show them first. We have to extend our hand first. So let's do that. And hopefully we can bring a lot of people off the couch and into the process. Joined Libertarian Party of Illinois. Thank you, Tommy the Coffee Addict. It says you're now a sustaining member. Excellent. Make plans to get to your next convention. Find leadership that's worth supporting and support those people who want to exercise those things that I just mentioned: professionalism, ethics, focusing on candidates, stewardship of donors and volunteer, and finding action items and following through on them. Those are the things you want to focus on. Let's do it, and let's grow the party in Illinois. Thank you very much for being a member. I just turned 18 between 2020 and 2024. So the only presidential candidate I have voted for is Chase. Awesome. Way to be your first vote. I'm very honored to be your first vote for president. I hope you vote for plenty of libertarians going forward for president, for other races. But thank you very much for your race. Hey, Joe, I see you're running for LPF chair. I'm not going to endorse anybody yet. I want to see who's going, who's all running. But good luck with that. He's saying to vote for him if you're out in Florida. Check out Joe, ask him all the questions you need to ask him, right? You need to ask him those questions that I just talked about. What are you going to do to follow through on those action items, Joe? Make sure you share that with all the Florida members. And that's how you'll get their support. Do I support the LNC chair resigning? Right now, if that were the case, we have no vice chair. It would go to the treasurer, who is Bill Redpath. I absolutely think Bill Redpath would be a great acting chair as we look to fill those vacancies. So if she wanted to, yeah, totally do it. Once we get a vice chair, that might change depending on who that is. It depends on who that is. But right now, yeah, let our treasurer take over. He's been a state chair before. Do it again. All right. Let's see. Going on a date. I'm a 39-year-old female. I believe this is probably somebody who doesn't know me very well, or a bot, because I don't date women. So good job, 0 day 1 and 0. I'm pretty sure that's a bot, but whatever. Cool. Thanks for the question. Why join my state party if New Jersey does not recognize it? Join. Are you talking about the state of New Jersey doesn't recognize it? Well, the state of Georgia doesn't recognize the Libertarian Party of Georgia as a political party either. We're a political body because of the way they classify things. But you need to definitely join the Libertarian Party of New Jersey, even if the state does not recognize them as a political party, so that you can grow them enough to become a political party. Going to state convention doesn't work. We are outnumbered in Iowa. Well, David, I would encourage you to start recruiting other people to come to convention with you. Get friends, get family members, get other people who broadly agree with you on things. Reach out outside of our network and bring people in. That's the only way that you're going to win in a vote in a state. But I don't know who we is. But I would say focus on those things and focus on people who are going to focus on those action items and make that be heard at your convention. Say, this is what I'm basing my vote on, and this is what I think other people should base their vote on. And I think those who are running for office should answer these questions as to what are they going to do about these things. So please be active in the process, even if you feel like you might not win or your preferred candidate might not win. Be active in the process. Stay active in the process. Continue to recruit. There is time before the national convention, but continue to keep recruiting. Keep recruiting. There we go. I hesitate to join my state's Libertarian Party because I don't want it to defect to Republicans or Democrats. I don't know what state party you're in, but you need to join your state's party. This thing can't hurt. And the best way to get the priorities straight for the party is for you to join it and bring your friends and have them join. Well, here's a fun question. What am I cooking for Christmas dinner? And do I have any New Year's resolutions? New Year's resolutions I will talk about, just to give a free plug, on the end of the year live stream. I'll be doing 9 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, the 29th. So check that out. Mike Tremont will also be joining me. So I'm going to be asking him to bring his New Year's resolutions as well. And we'll be talking about the campaign and some past stories of the past year, the year in review, so to speak, and maybe talk about our things. What am I cooking for Christmas dinner? My family is doing both a ham and I believe we're doing a beef roast as well. No turkey for Christmas. We did that for Thanksgiving. And then, of course, all the Southern fixins. So I'm looking forward to seeing my mom, seeing my brothers and my family, and having a great Christmas. I'm really looking forward to it. And Merry Christmas to those who are going to be observing. Happy Hanukkah to those who will be observing. Happy Kwanzaa to those who celebrate. whatever it is. Hanukkah begins actually on the evening of Christmas this year. So it's kind of a really cool thing that across the face, December the 25th, and then, is kind of the onset of both Hanukkah and Christmas. Pretty cool. Great to see support from younger folks. I'm just hoping to see many more join because Chase represented your generation better than. Well, thank you, Darren. Hope we do get more younger people to join. Let's see. Grace asked, do you believe the classic approach of a single candidate will ever work, or is it time to pursue a broader message by nominating multiple regional and interest-based candidates for president in 2028? I think this would be a huge, huge, bad thing. I think that would be a really bad thing, because if you do that, it signifies fracturing within the party, and that makes the average voter just not even want to get interested. We've had times in the past where one state or another has put another candidate on the ballot, and it's never fared out well. It doesn't ever really perform any better than any other state. And ultimately, it does turn people off to the party. I think that would be a very bad decision to make. Doesn't mean you can't run candidates across the country who are part of the broad spectrum of the party. But you need to run one candidate for president and vice president. You don't need to be running multiple regional-based candidates for president or vice president, because no one will vote for that. You have to be on ballots across the country. If you're on the ballot in only 5 or 6 states or 10 states or a handful, no one will vote for that, which is what we've seen, historically, and we would probably see going forward. So I don't think that would work. Good question, though. What are my opinions on the forced sale ban of TikTok? They shouldn't be forced to sale. They shouldn't be banned. They should be allowed to keep operating. The fact that they steal personal data from you, like the data that you enter your algorithm, the information you're interested in, it's what Meta, it's what X does. So, whatever. I'm not worried about it. I don't think it's as much of a risk as people want to make it out. I think it's just another way to demonize China, to justify raising military arms and tensions towards China. So for me, I'm good with all that. We're a big tent party, so we're going to have a few clowns. I like that saying. Yeah, well, everybody does. Any idea who the Libertarian cabinet member is who was promised? Well, what they're going to do is Trump's just going to create his own department, and it's going to call it the Department of Putting a Libertarian in the cabinet, so people will shut up, because I don't think he's going to put a Libertarian in the actual cabinet position. Sorry. Hate to be the burster of bubbles, but that's where we're at. So we're about 45 minutes into this thing. I want to say thank you so much, folks, to taking the time to hear me out today. I want to say, I'm not going to be having a Tuesday or a Wednesday live stream next week, because that's Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. I hope all those who observe have a wonderful Christmas holiday. I know I will be having a great Christmas with my family. So thank you so much. Thank you very much, folks who are watching. Please like and share this out so more libertarians can hear from it, because I think they do. I think libertarians need to hear particularly about the goals that we need to have as a party going forward. And so let's keep doing that and growing this thing. So thank you very much to all of you. I look forward to seeing you on the 29th. Please check us out December the 29th at 9 p.m. Sunday night. And we'll have a year in review. Mike will be here, so I'm very excited to see that. But thank you very much, you guys. Have a wonderful evening. Peace, love, and liberty. Goodbye.